the bar. Stay. Oh, hi, Mama Kitty.
February will be 3 years that I've been in remission. Honestly, it felt like the world was crashing down around me.
As a family, we cried.
Cancer doesn't define the person. There's always going to be that fear in the back of my mind that it's going to come back. It just made me realize, like, you can't hold grudges. When I was in volleyball around September, a lymph node in my neck popped up and it was like really big, about the size of a golf ball. And I just didn't feel good, and so we went to the doctor and she gave me some antibiotics and it went away. And so we were really confused. We were like, lymphoma doesn't go away, like it can't be that. And we were about halfway through basketball season and I could feel that lymph node again. And I was like, Mom, that lymph node's back. We need to figure this out. And so we went back to the pediatrician and she was like, all right, we're going to send you to Children's Mercy to get that biopsy and hopefully figure out what's going on.
I had asked, what's the probability of it being lymphoma? And she basically told me it was slim to none. With Brandon being in sole practice at that time, I was like, it's just an in and out procedure. They're just going to biopsy it. I, was pulled out by the surgeon and she said, by the MRI, it looks like lymphoma. There's different types of lymphoma, so that was the goal of the biopsy, to confirm that and then to determine what type. Finding that out and then having to call Brandon and tell him that was, hard. Probably even harder than that was after she pulled me out and told me, oh, go back in the room with Taylor, but don't let her know what's going on. So we both had the knowledge of what probably was going to be the diagnosis for a good 24 to 36 hours before we could actually tell her.
I didn't really get sad, I just got mad. I was pretty infuriated with just the situation.
So they called on Tuesday night and were like, it's Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 2. Honestly, it felt like the world was crashing down around me. Everything was going pretty well, and then this happened. And so I was like, why me? I questioned a lot of things, especially with my faith. I was really scared. I wasn't scared that I was going to die. I was just like, I didn't want to lose my hair. I didn't want to have to feel like crap for the next however long. And so I just had to remember to keep myself positive and just to keep going through it.
I told her, yeah, we got the phone call today, confirmed the diagnosis, and as a family we cried. That first night was rough. So there was, I guess, the stages, you go through anger and fear and then, bereavement, sadness, and then finally you kind of get to that point where, okay, now let's go fight it and get it taken care of and move forward.
I think that's probably the hardest thing we've ever had to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Was to tell her, you're looking at your only child. My family was there with me when I got the news. So as soon as they took her to surgery, I of course totally lost it. So telling them was just, I don't even know that I could think about it because I had been holding it together for 2 hours or an hour, however long. I can remember he was out working cattle, and of course I'm crying, trying to get that out. Taylor's symptoms weren't typical.
No.
She didn't feel bad, she didn't lose weight, she didn't have any of those other classic cancer symptoms. It presented in a very unusual manner, and so it was a little bit more difficult for them to get the diagnosis, I feel like.
Obviously at the beginning, you fear whether your daughter's going to live or not. That was a very fleeting fear. It was more, this is the challenge that we're faced with, now let's go beat it.
Yeah, the fear of recurrence,
Sure.
and that's unfortunately something that you live with forever. You live in the what if sometimes, so that's I think where faith has to step in, and you just have to count on the fact that God healed her and she's doing great, and you just stand on that. And I think at 14, body image is a very big thing. And for a girl, your hair is very, very huge.
I went to a tournament in Garden with the basketball team, and my mom took me because I wasn't feeling that great, but I still wanted to go. When we left, I had been wearing a hat all day, so I took it off. So I unbraided my hair and I'm scratching it, and it just starts coming out in clumps. Like, everything just comes out. And so I'm sitting there in the passenger seat with this giant ball of blonde hair in my lap. And I'm crying, my mom's crying, and it was just a mess. And so my mom takes it out of my lap and chucks it out the window. And we're still in the parking lot of the Garden City School. And I feel really bad for whoever found this ginormous ball of blonde hair because they were probably really freaked out and didn't know what was going on.
It was a very difficult time, you know, when you're a teenager, your friends are your life, so to have to be away from your friends. Initially with a diagnosis, everyone was, you know, very supportive, but as time went on, their lives move on, and she's still stuck in that treatment. You know, were there times that she felt left out? You know, there was a lot of that.
At 13, 14, it's a rough age. You're still finding out who you are. Her friends changed a little bit after that.
My friends were really helpful through that, and my churches. There were so many things that people I didn't even know did for me, and so that was really sweet to see that there still are good people in this world. Just the support from even like the schools and my teammates from basketball was really amazing to see. That was a major thing, was just having a good support system.
Taylor, what's up? Here hanging out with your friend. In Vegas, roping. Got 2 rounds left. But I hope you're doing great. I'll be praying for you. Be tough.
Me and Taylor have always been close friends because we rode horses together since we were like about 5 years old. So we've always been like super close. It was crazy. I really couldn't believe it because like when somebody texts you and just says, I went to the doctor and found out I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, you don't really know what to think about that. So I was kind of in shock. I didn't really believe it at first. I just tried to be there for her because she was at the doctor's a lot, like, you know, because she had to go through treatment and stuff. So I always sent her little gifts, and, you know, we sold bracelets and shirts for her and just tried to help her out. I was always, like, we were always just texting, asking how she was doing and just, you know, that kind of thing.
As a parent, you know that you have to be strong for your kid.
Yeah.
With her attitude being as good as it was, you couldn't help but, you know, be supportive and be positive along with that. We've always had a good relationship, I think, but I think that just strengthened it all the more. Probably was hard for him at times because he was stuck here working. It definitely wasn't that we were, you know, having fun without him necessarily, but he, I don't think, could have been as supportive as what he wanted to be because he had to stay here and be the financial stability for the family.
We kind of took the approach from the very beginning that if you wanted to know what was going on, ask us, we'll tell you. And finally, Julie started a Facebook page. We put everything we knew on Facebook. If you were curious to know what was going on, if you'd heard a story that, you know, our kid had cancer or something, you could look it up and you would know exactly what was going on.
I mean, people were concerned. I mean, we both work with the public, so we know a ton of people, and so the outreach was fantastic. Social media was great in that aspect, in that this person didn't tell this person that told this person that has no medical knowledge whatsoever, and so it gets turned into, you know, oh my gosh, she's dying and has 3 months to live, versus, you know, yes, like she said, this is going to suck for a while, but I'm going to be okay. As far as in the hospital,
I colored a lot, I slept a lot.
A lot of movie watching. We watched a lot of Criminal Minds. We definitely contributed to our DVD collection. We have lots of new DVDs. Once we got out on Tuesday, we would try and at least do something, if she felt up to it, do something fun. So we went down to the plaza because it was over the holidays, so we went down to see the Christmas lights. The only thing she wanted was Cold Stone Creamery. And so my friend Carrie played the cancer card and went up and pounded on the door and said, look, this young lady has cancer. The only thing that sounds good to her is some Cold Stone ice cream. Can we please, you know, talk you into at least opening up just so she can get some ice cream? So she got her Cold Stone.
One of the IVs they would hang for the chemo was bright red. And so that chemo drug would turn my pee the color of a traffic cone. It was bright orange, and I was freaking out. Like, I went to the bathroom and I was like, Mom, come look at this. It's bright orange. What is going on? And the nurse is like, yeah, that's normal. You're fine. What I didn't realize was afterwards, it's a new kind of normal. I had a lot of muscle weakness. I couldn't lift my foot off the floor if I kept my heel on the floor. I couldn't lift my toes up. Running like that was really difficult. So I didn't go out for soccer that spring, and that was one of the hardest things. Was I love soccer and I was really looking forward to that, and I was really disappointed I didn't get to play. Another thing that was really hard was not being able to ride. That was a major thing because that's like one of my stress relief is riding. I don't have to think about what's stressing me out when I'm riding. I kind of went against doctor's orders. They were like, you can do light riding, but what they didn't know was me and my best friend were out in the middle of a pasture jumping logs. So they probably didn't appreciate that too much if they would have found out. I was stressed out enough that I didn't really care, so it was just worth it to go out and ride. One of my mom's friend's aunts knows the guitar player from Florida Georgia Line. And she texted him and was like, hey, I know you live in Kid City, like you should go see this girl. She's in the hospital with chemo treatments. And so he was like, yeah, okay, I'll go visit her. And so he brought me all this kinds of Florida Georgia Line stuff. And I was a little nervous because I had never met him before and I didn't really know who he was. But he turned out to be a super cool guy. Like, he was great. And he hooked us up with meet and greet passes and tickets to the Florida Georgia Line concert in Kansas City. I got to take one of my friends. It was a lot of fun.
The day that he came was actually the day that we found out she was in remission, I believe. He stayed for an hour and a half.
He's such a cool
and
person.
we just talked and talked and talked, and he brought lots of cool stuff.
Oh yeah, I have lots of Florida Georgia Line stuff.
He said, you know, he's like, yeah, if you got, you know, if we're ever playing in the area and you guys want to go, make sure you know, look me up and we'll hook you up with some good stuff.
So if you're diagnosed with, like, they call it a life-threatening disease, you get a Make-A-Wish. And I was like, well, I've never left the country, and so I wanted to go somewhere outside of the country, and I wanted to go to the beach. I'd never been to the beach. My mom was researching things that we could do, and she found this place called Atlantis in the Bahamas. I got to take one of my best friends with me because I'm an only child. They paid for her to go. So we spent a lot of time on the beach because I love the beach. And we did swimming with the dolphins, and one of the things was paddleboarding, and I was like, I want to do that. It looks so much fun.
The VFW will put on those spaghetti dinners at no cost. They paid for all the supplies for the spaghetti feed. She organized, I think, a bake sale along with it. And they did some auction items as well. But I think we kept a book. I think there was over 500 people just that signed in on the book that came.
And there was people there we did not know.
It was really nice to see that people will support stuff like that even though they don't know you. You just have to realize how short life really is. Make the most of your time that you have on Earth. You can't hold grudges. It's not worth it. Just try to be as happy as you can. There's always going to be that fear in the back of my mind that it's going to come back. It's gotten less and less as the years have gone by. This February will be 3 years that I've been in remission.
Right now she's down to appointments every 6 months, then she'll do CT scans once a year. That went from, initially we went every 3 months and she scanned every 6 months. So she'll have follow-ups for the 5 years after treatment, and then after 5 years you get back into just a normal lifestyle, hopefully.
You should look to see what that person is like outside of it, because it's not their entire life story. Especially if, like, it's in the past and, like, they've had it, you shouldn't look at someone differently because they've had it. Like, they're still a person. Like, they're not the disease. It doesn't define you.
And cut. So you can